Okay, here we have Paul Tucker. He is probably the best, one of the best, if not the best player at our club. 9-time club champ, I believe. Currently about a +2 handicap. Played collegiately at the Division I level, and also has competed in multiple national amateur events, as well as state. And recently did have a back surgery last year, which did limit him a little bit. He said he kind of been fighting pain for a while, and now finally feels back to kind of healthy. The surgery was somewhat similar to Tiger. I don't need to go into detail. I don't know that much fully about it, but it definitely limited him a little bit, but eliminated all pain and allows him to kind of play golf again freely. So he set some pretty high goals for the next couple years. Wants to get back to playing competitively in tournaments and get more prepared mentally, physically, in both his motion and just his ability to score a little bit. Is currently a +2, still more than capable of playing some really, really good golf. And so what we spent some time with today was really trying to see where we want to get to as far as his golf swing goes, and really make some changes there just to improve face control, improve his path position a little bit, so we can kind of get maximum efficiency out of his golf motion. Because as you'll see in a few minutes, and he knows this, so we're not reinventing the wheel. Mr. Tucker has a bit of a unique motion. Nothing Tommy Gainey aggressive or Jim Furyk aggressive, but it's just a little bit of a different position that you would see in someone like that. But his ability to control it and know right where it's going to be every single time still makes him a true force to be reckoned with. And to have that ability, and then with some potential changes just to improve path position and things like that, the sky is certainly the limit for him. So we'll take a look on the left side here. This was his first motion. So you can just take a look in his setup here. A little bit slouched, but nothing too negative. There's plenty of really good players that do position themselves this way. However, being a little bit hunched, if you will, in this position and not kind of standing a little bit upright certainly limited his backswing rotation, as we'll kind of see when we take the club to the top. But some good things going on here. There's a reason why a +2 is a +2, and it's because there are good things always going on in the motion. So we take a look here. Takeaway, pretty darn sound right here. Trailing the right arm really, really nicely. And club face is also directly in line with his left arm. So it's trailing the right arm. He's almost parallel with his left arm face-wise, so really good position there. What happens here, though, is the lack of upper body rotation and lower body, really just backswing rotation in general. What begins to happen is what I refer to as elevator arms, which is where if we draw a line right here on his hands, you can see his hands just go straight up that line, right? Oops, let's get this one to not move. His hands go straight up that line on the left right here. Okay, so now we get to this big old upright position at the top. Now, benefits to this. Club face, still very much in control of it, still dynamically matchup-wise, it's related to his body. So not terrible here, but what's happening is we're creating this big old gap now in what we would generally consider as that slot or that position at the top. And so now he's going to start fighting it. As you can see, there's this initial little transfer here where that club starts to begin flattening out. There's a constant attempt in his entire downswing to get this club to work more this way, right? As opposed to, what maybe average Joe golfer might try to do here, which is just throw it straight into the ground and get what we would consider that steep or over-the-top motion, if you will. But because he's such a good player, he's naturally started creating that shallower position or forcing himself to get more shallow despite that backswing issue. And so you can see right here, he's getting about as close to shallow as you could really hope for from that backswing position. Hands and club pass each other, but you can see now that club face, because of the position he was in at the top, it wasn't able to naturally shallow and naturally open up. So now it's shut relative to his left arm. So now he's coming in closed from a steeper position. So you kind of combine those two things, and you're going to have yourself either some pulls that can happen, or because he's able to time his hands at the bottom and create some hand release, you can see the hands kind of exit very low right here, right? Hands are exiting down there. That can create his ball flights. So what he essentially hit here was a little bit of a pull cut. This probably wasn't his best contact, but still, a good enough shot to be productive. But he doesn't feel in control. He doesn't feel like he's able to work the ball both ways, and you can kind of see why. It's it's an efficient motion. It's an effective motion. It's something that he can go play golf with and probably still handle himself against most competition. But when, he needs to hit that certain golf shot and really control his golf ball, you can just see where the lack of the control just comes in, because his whole downswing, he's trying to be very defensive, right? So you look at this and you go, oh, okay, like he's somewhat parallel to his initial starting line, but because he's trying so hard to get the club back there, the body's not moving properly. He's not able to really fire through it. He's not able to create that it factor or that it motion that you really see among top tier players. So that's really just what's been happening. The backswing rotation we kind of talked about. We think it might have stemmed to having that back pain and fighting those issues that he had the last couple seasons. And so from there, he just kind of started limiting himself, which just made this motion just a little bit more dramatic than it's been in the past. So had to be very aggressive with how to feel the change. But this was kind of the remodel, if you will, of the motion. So we talked a lot about getting more upright. So you kind of see just in the initial positions here, this position is definitely much more upright than the one on the left. And then the takeaway is going to be feels like he's almost rolling it dead inside, but you can see now it's trailing. It's just underneath his right arm a little bit. Club face is also a lot more open. So if we kind of compare this here, right? So the face here is pointing more in this position. This one's starting to point a little bit more this way. So we're getting that club face a little bit more open. So one of the oldest tricks in the book is there's a thought that if I keep the face closed the whole time, I'm going to hook it or draw it. Well, that's true, but that also requires a lot of body rotation, because you got to still shallow that golf club and position yourself, where if you just let that face open up a little bit on the backswing, you're going to naturally want to close it and release it down with the hands and the body, and that can create that nice little draw swing that we were looking for. So just getting more control of the club face is going to help by him getting a little bit more open, which is what we did right there. So now, as we continue up to the top, you can see that upright position definitely got him a little more rotation. Still going to be upright at the top, right? This is natural. But right here, in comparison to that, small victories here, but a couple good things. One, if you actually zoom in a little bit, you can see his whole head, right? You can see his whole face. So that tells you right there that his arm position is much improved. We draw the angle of his arm. There's his left arm here. There's his left arm here, right? So this one's going straight into the ground, and at least this one's working a little bit more directly in line with the golf ball, right? It's a huge change there just alone, just in terms of his left arm position. So way, way better there. Also, club face, square, and then I just messed up that line, so let me go back here. There's the initial starting line. Okay, so club face now and starting position, virtually perfect. Okay, we draw a shoulder line. Almost parallel to each other, right? So now we're starting to get these matchups that are much more in line with each other. Okay, so making effective change in a golf motion, especially with someone like him that's already been playing for a very long time, we're not going to be able to break this whole thing down and make a whole change, nor do we want to, because it's going to make him worse than he is, than it will make him better, unless he puts in that rigorous hours a week of practice. And look, he's got a full-time job, he's got a family, he's got all these things. So instead, it's like, let's take what he's already good at and let's just make it a little bit better. So here he is a little bit upright, which is fine. I want him to stay upright. We just needed to improve that face, which we did. And then now, if we take a look at his transfer here, so this one, just to reiterate where he was, there we go. And then let's get this one started where we want it. There we go. As we start down. Still fights it a little bit, but now we look at where that club head is in that position compared to right here. Okay, so that's already a little bit better. This one's up in his neckline. This one's getting to his right shoulder line already. Now it's starting to pass. That's passing the hands perfectly. This one you can see, obviously the camera didn't do it perfectly, but I guarantee you it works this way based on from where it was and where it is, right? So there it goes, working under a little bit more. Now we're here. Face and the left arm are much more in line as opposed to the left one where it's a little bit more on the closed side. And now the release is not as underneath his hands as opposed to this one where it's very much under, right? So you can see there's that little bit of a gap here, whereas this one is much smaller. So big change right there. Releases this way, as opposed to, as you can kind of see, it almost loops this way and then up. Still a bit of a, not a flip, just more of a handsy release, which again, plenty of really good players like Mark Leishman, guys like that do that, so I'm not too disappointed there, but the finishes end up about the same, so just to kind of flow them all in one. So made some pretty aggressive changes. It felt very different to him. He's essentially feeling like he's rolling the club way inside, feeling like Matt Kuchar at the top, and as a result, that position at the top is just subtly different, just enough, right, where we're creating a real good position at the top, and he's now able to work the ball a little bit left and a little bit right. So continue to make those changes, and really excited about where he's going to be able to go as we kind of just continue to monitor this position and make sure it stays where it needs to be.